Hello everyone and welcome to another video of Vivek Learns. So let's continue solving some pep coding level 1 question. So the last question that we solved was pattern 15. So let's continue solving pattern 16. So this is the question that we are asked to solve, and let's kind of copy it and analyze it. So what do we see in this question? So if we are given input 7, we have to print this, right? So I can see that we have to print some kind of like this pattern we can easily print like the left side of this. Then we can print some spaces here and have a triangle of spaces, and then we can print this pattern. So let's try to print this pattern first, right? So let me copy this pattern 16, right? Let's go. Don't want this. We also don't want this for now. We also don't want this. And we want to iterate from I is equals to 0 to I is equals to num, I is less than num. And if we want to have this, then we can have something like I can have something like I less than equals to j, right? J less than equals to I. If we have this, then what do we have? We get a pattern like this. Okay, so let's try to print that pattern first. And we want to print numbers like the value of I, and we want to increment it each time. So for I is equals to 0, we'll print I plus 1 for the first, then we'll print plus 1 for I is equals to 1. What if we print plus plus I plus 1, I plus j plus 1, right? Okay, so this is 0 plus j will be 1 here, then 2 here, 3 here, yeah. So let's try to print I plus j plus 1. Let's try to run that. Or 7. We do get something like 2 and 3, which we don't want, right? So we'll have to initialize the variable j. We have to initialize some variable and we have to keep on incrementing that for the particular value. We'll have to do something like j, let's see, int count equals to 0, then count plus 1. So what we will have to print, right? Hmm, can we try it with j and count are the same variables, right? Let's try for 7. Yes, so we don't need this count variable, right? So we have got the first pattern. Now let's try to print some stars here, some spaces here. So once we print this, we have to print spaces, and we'll have to print how many spaces? To print these number of spaces, right? So first we'll have to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 spaces, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of 7 we'll have to print 6 spaces. I'll what we can do is that we can have some kind of hyphen here that we can print just in case, right? So we'll be starting from one less than, right? J is less than num minus I. Let's say so. For the first, it will print 6 minus. Okay, right. So this may print our desired output. Mm, yep, that's what we wanted, but not for this one. Like we should have stopped the iteration till here. Don't want these spaces, right? So what gave us these spaces? Let's try to find that out first. So we'll be starting from mm, num minus I. So starting from 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll print 6 one. But we don't want that. We want num minus I minus 1. Yes, so this will give us the required output. Yes, that is what we have here, right? And once we print that, we'll have to print the same pattern again, right? Let's try 7. Then we'll have the same pattern again, right? And then we'll again print this pattern. Let's see if it works. For this pattern, it will start from printing from here 1, then it will start printing from here. Okay, so let's start printing from 1 here, then 1, 2. So that is going to happen now. But let's print this first and then think about it. 7. Yes, we'll have 1, then 1, 2, then, but that is not what we want, right? What we want is, we want only one space which is down here. We want thing which is increments first, it decrements, then increments first, and then decrements. How do we do it? What we can do is that for these we don't want to have. So let's eliminate this portion first. So how will we eliminate this one? Try to think about that. So what we are doing is we are printing 1 here. So if we don't have that, are we printing the space here? Let me check that. Yes, we are printing the space, but we don't want that. So we can start the iteration from 1. Otherwise, we have to skip the first iteration. So this can be skipped. How can this be skipped? So if we start our iteration from 1, then num minus I, which is 7 minus 0. 7 minus 0 is, no, it won't work, right? 7 minus 0, 0 minus 1, 6, 6, 1 less than 6, so it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, right? Yes, so this might work, in fact. Let's try to see. No, it did not, because we want to have less number of spaces here, right? We want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We want 5 spaces here. Oh, we did not change it actually. Yes, so we'll have that pattern. So now what we want is, we want 1, then 2, 1, something like that. So what we can do for that, mm, we can have a count variable initialized, and then we can print the count variable, right? What do you think? We'll have 1 year printed, and then we can have the count plus plus, something like that. Mm, okay, let's think about this part only now, for right now. So we'll have to print 1, then 1, 2. How will we print it? So we'll have to print 1 first, which we get, like g plus 1 is what we get. Then we'll have to print 2. Then 2 is nothing but I is 1 at that time. So if we do I plus j, what do we get? I plus j plus 1. So we'll get 0 plus 0 plus 1, right? Then what do we do is, what do we get for the next iteration? We get I as 1, j as 1, 2. No, this won't work, right? What can we do here? So what we can do is, we can have some kind of count variable for this specially. So we have 1 and 2. The thing is that it's happening from here and then here. How do we mitigate that? So what we can do, think about it. Can we have the same number printed here, here, then here, and then decrement it? Can we do that? Yeah, we can do that, right? We can have some kind of count variable. Count. Then what we do is, we do count plus plus print count plus plus first. Then what we do for each iteration, we have to do count minus. So if we just have this, let's first try to print this. So we'll get 1, we'll get 1, 2, 10 minus 1. The count should be initialized 0 every time, right? So it will do, we don't need this then. Let's try to run this. It did not run. Yeah, that is what we got. So we'll have to play with this. How do we play with this? Let's think about it now. So we have plus plus count here. So we'll have 1. Then we can print count here. If we print count here, then it will print 1 here. If we print 1, 1, count and then minus, minus, right? Yeah, because we'll have to print 2, then minus 1. Correct. Let's try to run this. And we do get the desired output somewhat. But why does it shift? Why did this shift? So I think we'll have to have some kind of custom condition here for the last element. Right? Because we don't want this element to shift. And this element is shifting because this is shifting. So basically it will start from here. So we don't have to print here. So if we can have this condition, if I is not equal to num minus 1, let's say, because this is for which condition? Num minus 1, right? Then only we'll have to print this. Otherwise we don't have to print anything. Yeah, I think this condition might work. Oops, the whole pattern got shifted, right? Okay, so we'll have to add the jth condition also. If I is not equal to num minus 1 and let's try to have that pattern again here. So I'll think about the condition again. So this is occurring for this line and for the value of j as 0. We have value of and the value of j as 0 and not equal to, right? This is not working. We have I, j, k. I is not equal to -1, which gives us these conditions. Okay, we have to skip for which condition? We have to skip when? We'll have to think about the skipping condition first. What do we have here? Let me control C again. So we have to skip writing this when we have num as I as num -1 and j is equals to 0, meaning this condition, right? So when will this condition be satisfied? So we don't want I as num -1, and at the same time we don't want j as 0. And j I is equal to num -1, but we want to decrement the value at the same time, right? We don't want to print if I is equals to num -1 and j is equals to 0. We want to do just count minus minus, right? Else we'll have to print it if I is equals to num -1, 6 and j is equals to 0. Hopefully this is the condition that we want. And yes, we do get the desired output, but we have another condition here for I is equals to num -1. We didn't have, okay, we have the correct output, sorry, my bad. I was looking till here itself. So we can just, remove this kind of outputs now. Can have that pattern created again. Yes, that is the pattern that we want. So let's try solving the next problem that we have, pattern 17, right? So this is the pattern similar to the pyramid pattern that we had solved, right? Like we have to draw this pyramid first, and then we'll have to cover only this part and not this part. So let's try to draw a pyramid first. Pattern 17. How will we draw a pyramid? So we'll start from hmm, let's try to draw a pyramid first for 0, 1, 2. So we'll start from num by 2, right? And then we'll not require this count variable, and then what it does is have to create the stars. For that we have to print this first, like spaces first. And how do we print? Using then num by 2 minus I. We'll have to print spaces. So let's have the spaces printed with hyphens. Then we'll have to print stars. So for all we have the stars printed. So for I is equals to 1, we'll have to print 1 star. So for I is equals to 0, we'll have to print 1. And then we had that formula, right? 2 into I plus 1. We have to print stars. That is how we had got that pattern, like the pyramid pattern first. 5, we get space or less than equals, right? Let's print it for 7. Yep. So what we want is, we don't want this part now, right? So for I is equals to 1, what we can do is that we can have another pattern here which kind of have these as spaces here. That is what we can do, right? Yeah. So how can we do that? We'll have to start from the first one, and then we'll have instead of stars we'll have, if I is less than equals j, can we have it here? If I is less than equals j, what is I here? I is 0, so we don't have to print. If I is less than or equals to j, let's say if I is less than j, 0 is less than 0, 0, 1, 2. No, so we'll start from 0 here, right? So for I is equals to 0, j is equals to 1. I is equals to 2, I is equals to 1, j is equals to 3. 3, right? So what is half of 3? 2. Half of 3 is 1. So what is half of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Half of 5 is half of 5 is 2. So for 0, 1 we can print spaces, and then yeah, let's go with that approach. If I miss j is less than num by 2, no, j is less than this value. then what we can do is can sprint spaces. Otherwise we can I hope this gets us the desired output. Mm, not quite. What is wrong here? Did not. Okay. J is less than. Okay. What is this num doing here? To print J is less than num by 2. Mm, we just want this one, but it's printing J is less than num by 2, right? Yeah, this will work. But we want this last row, right? So what we can do is that we can have another condition here and mm, I is not equal to num by 2. So hopefully this gets us the desired output. The first kind of a knife pattern that we have. Then we just want this pattern now. So what we can do have that pattern. So we can have a similar approach, right? Star spaces, but we'll have here it for I less than num. Then we'll start from here. We'll have some spaces here. G less than num by 2, right? Then as soon as we get those stars, G less than J is equal to 0, G less than 2I plus 1 is the stars that we needed. So for the first half we'll have those. Yeah, let's try to print this once. I think this did not work because we want an approach like this, right? Okay, gotcha. So we want the stars to be printed, and then what we want is mm, for I greater than or we can have that approach. So let me think of another approach here for G less than num by 2. What we can do is So basically we are having this scope now here, like this rectangle, right? I is equals to 0, j is equals to 0, and then num by 2. So we print this part. So we print spaces for this part, right? Not that approach, okay, but let me think. Yeah, so we got this part. Now what we want is we want stuff to be printed. I is less than num by 2, which is 7 by 2 is 3 minus 3 minus I. So it will print 0, 1, 2 stuff. Yeah, to print stars here. Yep, so now let me just remove this. And we can see the beautiful pattern now. Let's try to have it for 5 once. See if that works. Yeah, let's have a bigger arrow. See if that works. Yes, it is. So yeah, that was all for this video. In the next video, we'll continue solving some more problems. See you guys in the next one.